don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
And all the time.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Sunday Night Football Overtime. Vikings at home taking on the New Orleans Saints. A return to the scene of a crime type of game. And normally this doesn't go well for the team that was murdered. Normally that team that shows back up in spirit to rip down the caution tape and to look at the chalk outline of their lifeless body, they usually don't return to the scene of the crime and avenge their death. Normally they die another slow death. See the Atlanta Falcons last year in this same exact spot, taking on the New England Patriots after the 28-3 debacle. We've seen this numerous times. Generally speaking, the team that lost the year prior doesn't come back to the scene of the crime and avenge the loss. But that's not what happened tonight. And I think a lot of us kind of knew what this outcome was going to be. I fully expected New Orleans to win this game. What I did not expect, however, is how they won the game. And that was what probably was the most impressive thing about tonight's victory. And if you're a team in the NFC, probably the most scary thing about what you saw tonight is how they won the game. All right? Think about this for a second. Last year, when the Saints went 12-4 and won the NFC South, what was the thing that made them different? What was so different about 2017 than all the other years when Drew Brees and the Saints had been good and Sean Payton led this team to the postseason and an NFC South crown? What was the one thing that stood out as impressive? You could talk about the defense. Yes, the defense was a revelation last year. It was a pleasant surprise. But that wasn't the thing that made the Saints true contenders. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. For me, though, the biggest surprise that came last year was that no longer did the Saints have to beat you on the right arm of number 9. They could beat you in a game where Brees threw for less than 200 yards passing, and they could still beat you because the run game would be just enough along with a very credible defense. Drew Brees no longer had to be the reason the Saints won the game. This season, it reverted back to the way that it had been for the previous decade, where if Drew Brees wasn't throwing for 350 and 3 touchdowns, the Saints probably weren't going to have a chance because they were going to have to outscore you. Most weeks, they were giving up over 20 points a game, closer to 30 than 20, and they were in shootouts, and the Saints would have to find a way to outlast the opposition. That's what this season looked like, say, about a month ago. But over the last 3 games or so, going back to that Monday night debacle, debauchery, massacre, if you will, versus the Washington Redskins, we've started to see a change in this Saints football team in the way that they're conducting business, and it looks eerily similar to what they were able to accomplish last year, which makes them a threat to come out of the NFC. Talking to you, Rams, after seeing the Rams the last couple of weeks, I think the Rams are a damn good football team, but I'm not as impressed with the Rams as I was, say, a month ago when they were destroying teams on both offense and defense. And granted, the level of competition wasn't as great. You could argue that there will be no tests for the Rams in the NFC West. There are tests every single week for this Saints football team, and they've been passing them with flying colors. Their division may be the hardest in football. I told you before the season started, I thought the AFC North would be the toughest division. I might have to stand corrected. It may be this NFC South, and some of you told me, you're crazy, it's the NFC South. I'm not going to concede that yet, but it's looking like the NFC South is going to be the most tough division in football this season, led by this 6-1 Saints football team. And the thing that should have scared you tonight, if you're another team in this conference, including the Rams, who at 8-0 shouldn't fear anyone, the one thing that should scare you is that Drew Brees had 120 yards passing tonight. Drew Brees went 18 of 23 for a $120 with an interception in this game. His first of the season. And they won this game comfortably, 30-20. Now, yes, turnovers play a big part, and they were able to get a couple of huge turnovers in this game. Momentous turnovers, game-changing turnovers. That's what good football teams do. And all of a sudden now, don't look, but the Saints are playing defense again. Now, I don't know if this is something we can consistently count on, because if you look at some of the teams that they've been able to put the clamps down on defensively, they haven't been good offenses. They've been offensively challenged teams. You look at the Redskins, they're one of the worst offenses in all of football, but they find a way to get it done defensively, and they can run the football. You look at the team they played tonight, the Vikings, really talented offense, skill position weapons all around the field. However, their offensive line is in tatters, and you saw a byproduct of that tonight on the pick six. Kirk running for his life, trying to extend, throws the football to a receiver that he thought was going to continue on the play. Diggs quit on the route, and all of a sudden P.J. Williams comes away with the pick six that pretty much slams the door shut on any opportunity to win this game. Your other big playmaker on the outside, and Adam Thielen, fumbles the football. Two of your biggest playmakers doing things to impact this game in a negative way if you're the Vikings, and you come away with a loss. And another game in which Kirk Cousins is sacked 3 times or more, sacked 4 times on the night. So if you're the Vikings, this is what's been your recipe for disaster this season. The pressure on the quarterback, turnovers, and you lose. When you lost to Buffalo at home, that's how you lost that football game. Turnovers, pressure on your quarterback, you lose the football game. Same thing can be said for tonight. Turnovers, pressure on your quarterback, you lose the football game. But this is more about the Saints and less about the Vikings, because the Saints are the better of the two teams. The Saints went in, won this game on the defensive side of the football. We haven't been able to say that for much of this season. Last week, against a much better offense in the Baltimore Ravens, on the road in a tough environment, they went on the road and they won. It wasn't the prettiest, but it was a gritty performance. But they did give up the drive at the end of the game, and it should have been tied, and that game potentially should have went to overtime. Bottom line is the Saints are starting to look like the team last year that was a serious Super Bowl contender, and it's because of the ability to win without Drew Brees having to be the reason why. That's what can make this team different. If Drew Brees can throw for 120 yards on the road against one of the better teams in the conference, and they still win going away 30-20, and really it was 30 to 13 before that late touchdown on a 4th down to cut it to 30-20 to even give the Vikings some respectability in this game. They had run away with this game on the road 30-13 after the turnovers and the mistakes. They had firm control of this game without Drew Brees having to be the reason why. That was the thing that impressed us last year in conjunction with the defense. We're starting to see the defense come alive. That first-round pick that a lot of you mocked and said, oh, man, what are the Saints doing? They gave away King's ransom to come up and get a guy that's very raw, not ready. Marcus Davenport starting to look like the guy that they moved up to get in the draft. We know about what they can be when they're healthy. We know about Cam Jordan. We know about Marshawn Lattimore when he's right. They're starting to come together. Things are starting to look good for this Saints defense. Sheldon Rankins is playing his best football of his career. He's starting to look like a first-round pick. All of a sudden, things are starting to round into shape defensively. We know that this offense can rev it up with the best of them. Kamara didn't have his best game tonight, but it was still effective enough. You're starting to get Ingram getting back into shape and into form. Michael Thomas has been one of the best receivers all season long. And so you look at what the Saints are doing offensively, you couple that with what they're starting to do defensively, and they found this little package with Taysom Hill, and they like this thing that they can do where they can put him in the game. And now tonight they threw a little wrinkle in there, a little extra added thing for you to have to think about if you're a team defending them when he's in the game. They actually threw it, and it was a pass that was completed deep down the field. So now they're adding in extra wrinkles, and don't think for one second that they showed you that Teddy Bridgewater package tonight and they're just doing that for no reason. At some point, Teddy's going to be involved in one of these plays where they throw it to him and it's a double pass and they're going to complete it. And it might be the Drew Brees who catches the football. Who the hell knows? But that's what they're setting up. They're always one step ahead of you, it seems like, right now this season. And the thing that I love about the Saints is they're telling you essentially what they're going to do, and you still can't stop it. They're telling you Taysom Hill is coming in the game, and he's going to run over your linebacker, or he's going to run over your defensive end, and he's going to pick up this first down. We're running read option. Can you stop it? And teams haven't been able to stop it. We're running we're running Mark Ingram on 3rd and 1. Can you stop it? No. Drew Brees is going to quarterback sneak this ball. Can you stop it? No. They're telling you what they're going to do. We're going to Michael Thomas here on 3rd and 6. Can you stop it? No. So, hey, we're telling you this is the one-on-one matchup we're looking to isolate and get the football to. We're going to throw it to Kamara out of the backfield. Can you stop it? No. And so that's what makes this team so dangerous, is that they have players that they can go to that are better than your players that will win one-on-one individual matchups. But the thing that you have to take a look at now, though, and that makes this Saints team just a little bit different and a little bit more scary than they were, say, a month ago, is that now the defense is starting to come together. Now Drew Brees doesn't have to win. With Ingram back in the lineup, there's balance in that backfield. They don't have to have Drew Brees throw for 360. They don't have to have Drew Brees go out and outdo the other team's quarterback and put up 37 for them to win. They don't have to do that, but if they need it, and this is what I talked about last year, if they need it, they can always reach in their back pocket and pull out that that 9 of spade and know that this guy is their ace in the hole and he'll get them out of trouble if need be. And that's a scary proposition for most teams around the league. So you watch the game tonight. My most impressive takeaway wasn't the fact that the Saints went into Minnesota and won, because I knew that was very possible. In fact, I expected them to do that. I'm not impressed by the Minnesota Vikings this year. So them going into Minnesota and winning, not the greatest feat attainable this year. I've seen lesser teams, i.e. Buffalo, go in to Minnesota and win this year. This is not the same Vikings team that we saw last year. Similar to Philadelphia, it's not the same Eagles team we saw last year. So when a team goes into Minnesota and wins, not as impressive as it was last year. Still an impressive feat nonetheless, but not as impressive. But what was impressive tonight was the way the Saints won. And that, my friends, is why you should be looking at the New Orleans Saints as a true contender, not just in the NFC South where they lead that division after 6 straight wins, but and they're not out of the woods in that division. Carolina is right there lurking. They haven't played the Panthers yet this season, so that's going to be intriguing to see how that situation shakes itself out. But more importantly, they look like a team that now doesn't have to rely on Drew Brees to necessarily win. The defense is coming along, and oh, by the way, here comes the run game and the balance that they've been seeking all year long. Look out for the New Orleans Saints. They got the young guys coming along at a nice rapid rate. You're starting to see Traquan Smith start to be a contributor in the pass game. All of a sudden now, Taysom Hill being a bigger part of this offense. It went from a little small package, 1 or 2 plays for Taysom Hill, to now full blown. You're going to get Taysom Hill with 7 to 10 touches. He's catching a football now. What the hell is going on out there? Like, they're treating Taysom Hill like a running back now. And it's taking on a life of its own. And so now you have to beware of what this Saints team is capable of. And it doesn't all revolve around number 9. And that should scare the hell out of every team in the NFC conference, including the undefeated 8-0 Los Angeles Rams. If you're the Minnesota Vikings, disappointing effort at home. All the momentum in the world. You've won, I think it was now 3 straight games, if I'm not mistaken, that you've won. And you had a chance to make it 4. You started out the game nice and quick. You had it going offensively. And it was, and you know what's crazy? It's another really solid performance by Kirk Cousins. You look at the numbers, and Kirk has not disappointed you this year. And again, a lot of the Kirk detractors going to point to the turnovers. I can't defend him in that department. That's something he's always had an issue with. But can you blame him tonight? Are the turnovers his fault tonight? What about Adam Thielen, who, my man, Black L.A.B, who's probably out there, and he's been making this campaign. And look, not to take anything away from Thielen, 8 straight now games of 100 yards receiving or more to start the season off. He just tied Calvin Johnson for the most games consecutively in one individual season of 100-yard games in a row. He may shatter that the next time the Vikings hit the field, as this guy has seemed to be unstoppable this year catching the football. But he made arguably the biggest mistake, because at that moment in the game, the Vikings had seized control of the game. They were up, if I'm not mistaken, 13-10. They were going for more points, whether it was going to be a touchdown before the half or a field goal. They were in firm control of this game. The Saints had no momentum. His fumble changed everything. It changed everything in this game. And so you got your biggest players making mistakes. How about Stephon Diggs quitting on a route? And granted, he probably didn't know the football was coming his way, but you can't stop running in that situation. Kirk is expecting you to do one thing, you do another, miscommunication, and all of a sudden pick six the other way, and this game is now starting to get away from you. So you can blame Kirk all you want. And I know a lot of people, including Redskins fans, are going to say, ha, 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 look at Kirk Cousins still doing the same shit he was doing in Washington. I beg to differ. He signed up for a totally different situation. He signed up for a Vikings organization that he thought was going to be stable, that wasn't going to have field goal kicking issues, that wasn't going to have a defense that was really suspect this year, that wasn't going to have running back issues. Everything that he ran from in Washington, he ran into in Minnesota, that wasn't going to have an offensive line that was a sieve, that is a wet paper bag, and having injuries, and even when they're healthy, still can't protect this man adequately. Everything he ran from with the Redskins organization, except a dysfunctional organization. That's not what the Vikings are. They may be a lot of things. They're not dysfunctional in the front office or at the head coaching position for that matter. But in any event, they don't have any running game to speak of, really. Latavius Murray has come alive of the last couple of weeks, but it's still just Latavius Murray. Not to disrespect the man, but I'm disrespecting the man. He's still just Latavius Murray. That's not what he signed up. He signed up for Dalvin Cook, a guy that he could throw it to, hand it off to, and be a true difference maker out of the backfield. Hasn't happened this season due to injuries. He didn't sign up for an offensive line that was going to allow him to be pressured on just about 1 out of every 5 to 6 snaps. He didn't sign up for a group of receivers that you could argue are among the best in the league tandem-wise, but he didn't sign up for Laquan Treadwell dropping the football every time he throws it to him. And Kirk's one of those guys, unlike some of the greats in this league who will disregard a guy if he's not getting the job done. Kirk's a process guy. So if Laquan Treadwell is open on this play, Kirk's going to throw him the football. If Kirk goes through his first 2 progressions, they're not open, and Treadwell is, Kirk's going to throw him the football. And he's expecting his guy to make a play, and Laquan Treadwell, week after week, either dropping the football or allowing somebody to take his cookies from him. And so he didn't sign up for that. He didn't sign up for a team that was going to be lackluster on the defensive side. This is one of the best defensive teams in football last year. They're not anymore. No one's afraid of the Vikings defensively anymore. So there's a lot of things he didn't sign up for. He didn't sign up for a place kicker or place kickers that can't put the football through the uprights. You put together a nice, lengthy 12-play, 72-yard drive. You cap it off with a touchdown on a 4th down. You're feeling damn good about yourself, only to go to the sideline, get a cup of Gatorade, look up, and your field goal kicker just missed the extra point. He didn't sign up for that. He didn't sign up taking his team down the field for 2, not 1, 2 game tying or winning drives, only to have his field goal kicker miss not once, not twice, but 3 times and lose, or tie the game in overtime. He didn't sign up for these things. So tonight was a microcosm of what this season has been for Kirk Cousins and his Minnesota Vikings football team. Not good enough defensively, okay? When they needed stops in this game, they didn't get it. They didn't get the stops necessary. And even though Drew Brees didn't have his best night, and even though you were able to pick him off the first team to do so all season long, even though you were able to do some good things defensively, it wasn't enough. It was not enough. You did not do enough defensively to affect change in this game. Not like the Saints did. They had game-altering turnovers that they forced. They impacted this game. And the Vikings used to be the defense that did that. They're not doing that anymore. Their run game, it wasn't impactful. They're not making the plays that change games anymore. And so you look at this Vikings football team, they may win the NFC North by default because nobody else in that division is good enough to take it. But Chicago's not afraid. Green Bay is not afraid. And even though Detroit, I'm not a believer in the Detroit Lions, they're not dead either. And so this division, wide open, okay? This division is wide open. I still think when it's all said and done, that this Vikings team should have enough to get it done because the Packers just have a brutal schedule. All right, they've had a brutal schedule, and everybody in the division plays almost the same teams, but it just seems like with the Packers already having played the Vikings in Lambeau and not getting that done. I think the task for the Packers ahead is a little bit more daunting than a lot of the other teams. I don't believe in the Bears because I just don't think they're ready yet. They're not ready for the prime time. You go on the road and you lose to Miami, you're not ready. You had opportunities to distance yourself from everybody else in this division, and you haven't taken advantage. You're just not ready yet. So I still look at the Vikings, and I think the Vikings are still the best team in this division. But you can't make the type of mistakes you made tonight against good opponents. You can't fumble the football in your own red zone and expect to win. You can't stop on routes when your quarterback is under siege and give up a pick six and expect to win. You can't expect other teams to lay down and give you victories. You've got to earn them, and you've got to play smarter football, and you've got to take care of the football. You got to take care of your quarterback, and you've got to be a defense that is a little bit more swarming and ferocious, and we just haven't seen that from the Vikings this season. And it'd be nice if special teams chipped in. You know, where's the 101-yard kickoff return, or where's Marcus Sherrills for a 72-yard punt return? You could use one of those every now and again because you're hurting on the offensive side and defensive sides of the football at times this season. And this was one of those games where, despite Kirk Cousins putting up really good numbers, which he's done this season on numerous occasions, the defense just hasn't made enough plays. And you could argue the offense themselves haven't made enough plays, or they've made too many mistakes to really offset the good plays that they've made. And so the Vikings fall short 30-20. And I think this is more indicative of what the Saints are and who they could become this season than an indictment on the Minnesota Vikings. The Saints are a really good football team, arguably the best in the NFC. I still think the Rams are the best in the conference, but the Saints aren't far behind, and we're going to find out a lot about both of those teams next week as we'll get the showdown of the two best teams in the conference next week, as the Rams will go on the road for their biggest test of the season by far and away against this Saints team at 6-1. So that will be the matchup of the week. I know everybody's circling Brady and Rodgers only for the second time in their career, and Sunday Night Football, Patriots, Packers should be great, yada, yada, yada. My focus and attention will be, however, in the Superdome in week number 9, when it will be Rams at Saints. That will tell me a lot about the conference and what I should expect from those two teams moving forward. So I will definitely be glued to my seat, at the edge of my seat, looking at that Saints and Rams game next week, as that will tell me a lot about the state of the NFC conference. Let's get to your comments and see what you guys have to say about this game and about whatever else you want to talk about. And let me say, because I know my man JP might be out there, congratulations. This is quickly off topic. Congratulations to the Boston Red Sox. They are your 2018-2019 World Series champions, as they were able to get it done in 5 games over the L.A. Dodgers. And they were the best team in baseball all year. They deserved to be there and deserved to win the World Series, and they got it done with a first-year manager, which a lot of people did not think they could do. So congratulations once again to the Boston Red Sox. So Matthew Lynch says, the Kirk Cousins criticism is very overhyped and unnecessary in my opinion. He made a ton of clutch throws on 3rd down and has great trust in his wide receivers to make plays. Again, I've defended Kirk at every turn, and I'm not going to stop now because I don't think he's done anything other than what you should have expected. If you've watched Kirk Cousins for any amount of time throughout his career in Washington, then they got exactly what they signed up for. The problem is it's not mutual. He signed up for one thing in Minnesota. He's getting a totally different thing. What they signed up for, $84 million for 3 years, all fully guaranteed, they're getting, okay? They're getting a quarterback that is a little bit more mobile than you thought he was going to be. They're getting a guy that is going to make some mistakes, going to fumble the football. He's got small hands. He's going to fumble the football, going to throw some interceptions from time to time, but he's going to make way more plays and keep you in way more games than your last quarterback did, and going to give you a chance to win on every single week that he steps out on the football field, which he has done this season. There hasn't been one game that Kirk Cousins hasn't given them a chance. Maybe a sans for the Buffalo game, and really you could blame that on his offensive line. He had no chance at all in that game. They were all over him before he could even get to his back foot in that football game. But in any event, they knew what they were getting in Kirk Cousins, and they've gotten it and then some. Kirk has been outstanding this season. Unfortunately, like I said, what he signed up for, they haven't held up their end of the bargain. We keep going, and Black L.A.B says, "Welp, as usual, my Vikings shoot themselves in the foot on primetime. All well, on to the next one." And that's essentially how you need to approach this. Is you had opportunities, 2 big turnovers, turn this game on its head. You lose this game by 10, and those 2 turnovers truly are the difference between you guys winning this game and you losing this game. So on to the next one. That's all you can do. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, move on to the next game. You look at the next comment. Angry Birds of Chaos says, "Where was Sean McVay working before he got the Rams job?" You already know the answer to that. He was in Washington as the offensive coordinator for the, I think it was 2 years before. It might have been 3 years. He was the offensive coordinator in Washington. I think it was the last 2 years before he got the job. And before that, he was the Redskins tight end coach. So that's where McVay was for the last few years. But Reese says, "Breeze throws for less than 150, and those bastards still win. Damn it all. I hate the Saints." And that's the scary part. And that's what I led with, is that Drew Brees threw for $120 tonight, and they won the game by 10 comfortably. That should scare everyone in the conference. Not just everybody in the NFC South Division, but everybody in the conference should be afraid. Be very, very afraid that this man threw for $120 and they won this game comfortably. That's scary. FBG Tony says, "Vikes got their ass bust tonight. Skull Nation is salty. How about them Skins, though? 5-2 and more dubs to come. Hashtag HTTR. Those Saints are way beyond scary. Damn defense has been resurrected." They were a team that we thought you could outscore them. We thought that you could put them in uncomfortable situations with a defense that was less than stellar, and that you'd be able to beat them, similar to what Tampa Bay did, similar to what Atlanta almost did to them early in the season. We thought you could outscore this team and beat them, and we were wrong. And we're starting to see them go back to the form that led them to 12-4 last year, and really one play away from the NFC Championship game a season ago. So if this is what we're getting moving forward, look out for the New Orleans Saints. Reese says, "The bad man," hold on. Reese says, "The bad man would have done his thing and led the Packers to a victory. I would have bet money on it." I agree with that statement, because I had, if you listen to my podcast, I had made the Green Bay Packers my upset special of the week, and I fully expected them to take care of business, and I knew the Rams were getting their first loss. I just knew they were getting it today, and I told my barber, you guys know who my barber is, Coop, King Coop. I told him, and he said he expected his Rams to win, and the man actually had the audacity to say that he didn't respect Aaron Rodgers. I said, "Oh, man, the bad man is going to do you, and he's going to do you in the worst way possible." And it was setting up for the perfect stage for the bad man to just take that man's heart out of his chest and just throw it on the ground and step on it. And if not for goddamn, I could smack the hell out of Ty Montgomery. I don't even want to see his face right now. I'm so disgusted with Ty Montgomery and the decision to come out of the end zone and take the football out of the hands of the one man that could have won you the football. What are you going to do? Run 102 yards for a touchdown? And even if you do that, you're giving the football right back to the Saints. There was nothing to be gained from Ty Montgomery coming out of the end zone. Nothing. Nothing. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Pissed me off. Cost me the football pool as well. Pissed me off. Black L.A.B says, "Saints are overhyped. Breeze looked pedestrian and threw his first pick. AT's fumble, Tread's penalty, and the call to go for it on 4th and 1 to start the second half screwed many." Look, you can say what you want to say. I know you're upset. You're frustrated. But what you're not going to do is disrespect the New Orleans Saints because they came into your house and beat you by 10. Honestly speaking, the Saints should have beat you last year, and you know it. The Saints did what they were supposed to do last year, this year. They beat you in your building. And so, yeah, you upset, but the Saints are better than you. You need to come to grips with that. They should have beat you last year. They would have beat you last year if their player would have understood that you didn't need to go for a knockdown or an interception. All you needed to do was make the play inbounds and the game was over. All you do is tackle Stephon Diggs inbounds, the game was over. And so They have your number. They know who you are. They've identified who you are, and they're able to beat you. And so they have your number. They're a good football team. They didn't get to 6-1, 6 straight wins by accident. You know, you're their 6th consecutive win for a reason. They're a good football team. You can call it what you want. I'm just giving you cold, hard facts, bro. They have your number, and they got you tonight like they were supposed to get you last January. Reese says, Adrian Peterson's still doing his thing out there. Lou, dude still has it in bunches. I tried to warn everybody that they were still gas in the tank. I would prefer if he wasn't toting the rock 26 times. You know, I told you I'm more like my AD with around 18 to 21 touches. And we're still throwing it to him out of the backfield. So if you look at his combined touches in this game, probably caught it 2 or 3 times, had 26 touches on the ground. You're talking about 29 totes for a 33-year-old back. I'd prefer for my AD not to touch it 30 times in a game. But when your offense is so reliant on a 33-year-old back, what can you do, man? But I appreciate his effort because without him, we're not 5-2 right now. Enrique Valencia says, Marlon Mack, he did it again. Man's a monster. Look, the last 2 weeks you played the Bills and the Raiders. Chill, bruh. Chill, okay? I understand you're excited. I told you that Marlon Mack was a beast coming out of South Florida. So, I mean, you know I'm a Marlon Mack fan. I wanted my Redskins to draft him. But understand who the level of competition has been the last couple of weeks. You show me a good team, and you show me Marlon Mack balling against a good team, and I'll show you an excited fan to watch Marlon Mack ball. But all I can say is he did what he was supposed to do against the competition he was supposed to do it against. I'm not mad at that. I'm just saying, pipe down, bruh. When he does it against a much better defense, then you'll have my respect. The Bills are not terrible on defense, but they're not a good football team. And so that's going to affect the defense. You're seeing it in Jacksonville right now. There's only so much you can do defensively where the offense and special teams are letting you down before it starts to seep into that side of the football and you start to suffer there as well. And so the Bills, really good on defense, but when you stink on offense and you stink on special teams, it starts to seep into your defense, and that's what you're seeing with the Bills. So, I love what Marlon Mack is doing, and he did have another nasty performance this week against the Raiders. It's the Raiders. Gregory Lightbody says, this Redskins offense is upsetting me. Garcon and Jackson are on the block. Let's get them. That's not going to change anything, bro. I don't know what you're expecting. But and if you're not watching, then you don't understand what's going on here. You can get whoever. You could go get Antonio Brown. You could go and get Adam Thielen. You could go get DeAndre Hopkins. Put them all on that Redskins offense. It's not going to change who we are because Alex Smith isn't getting these guys the football. Okay, that's just the fact of the matter. Guys are open. Guys are winning, and Alex Smith isn't getting them the football. So until Alex Smith gets comfortable, and he's just not comfortable right now. And ultimately, he will settle in. He will be more comfortable, but he's not there yet. So, Garcon, I'm good. He's starting to break down. He's not healthy this year. Hasn't really been healthy this year. I'm good on him. And Jackson, I'd love to have a Jackson on my football team, but we have a Jackson. His name is Paul Richardson, and he hasn't been healthy either. But nonetheless, Jackson is a guy that you don't want in this locker room. We've got good rapport going on right now. You bring a guy like Deshaun Jackson into this, why do you think Tampa Bay considered trading him? But they know that they don't stand a chance without Deshaun Jackson's ability to stretch the football field. You take him away, and they lose all of their explosiveness offensively. I love Mike Evans, but he needs someone opposite of him. That's Deshaun Jackson's role, to be the guy to take the top off that defense and give them some room underneath to work. And so that's why they don't want to trade Jackson. But Jackson is a guy that if he's not getting the football, he will pout. That's why he was on the bench last week. In the crucial moments of that game, he was on the bench. Why? Because he was bitching and moaning because him and Jameis Winston weren't on the same page. And I talked about this on my podcast. Did the Buccaneers make the right decision to go away from Fitzpatrick and go to Winston? I thought it was premature. I thought Fitzpatrick had earned the right to start. And until he was looking a mess, he should have been the guy in Tampa. Winston, I think, is extremely talented, but he's also extremely turnover prone. And you saw it again today. When he's off, boy, is he terrible. When he's on, he is dangerous. And so, like I said, Jackson would be a nice addition only to a team like Philadelphia. He'd be a perfect fit hand in glove because of what he brings to the table in a quarterback that can get him the football in an environment that I think he would enjoy himself in. In Washington, I don't think he'd be a guy that would get the football enough to his liking, and he'd get frustrated, and he'd be upset. And despite us winning the way we're winning, he'd be upset. And we don't have time for that right now. Not with the way that the locker room is and the way that things are going in Washington. We're good. Gregory Lightbody says, if Kirk would have stayed, who knows where he would be. I don't know where this team would be. I don't know where the Redskins. I don't know if the Redskins are 5-2 because Kirk turns it over. You know, Kirk gets hit. Kirk turns it over. Kirk throws the football. It bounces up. It's just like he's snake bitten. Things follow him. Alex Smith doesn't turn it over. And with the way we've been winning games by the narrowest of margins, one turnover, like the Dallas turnover last year, like the Philadelphia turnover in week 1, those change games. We're not having those turnovers with Alex Smith this year. As much as I love Kirk, and I wish he was still in Washington, you know, we're probably not 5-2. I'll be honest with you. We're probably not 5-2 with Kirk at the helm. I really believe that even though he would have had this team better offensively, I think there would have been more mistakes in there, and those mistakes might have proven to be the difference in games. And so I'm willing to say that, you know, right now the Redskins may be better off without Kirk, even though there's a limit. And with Kirk, there wouldn't have been a limit on what the Redskins would have been capable of, especially offensively. But with the Redskins, there's a limit with Alex Smith. But granted, he's not turning it over. And even a game like today against the Giants, there were some hits in this game that might have been a Kirk Cousins fumble, or it might have been a Kirk Cousins interception, and we lose the football game. Instead, they were just incompletions, and we were able to overcome those, and we were able to win the game. And today felt like a game that we would have found a way to lose. Last week against Dallas felt like a game we would have found a way to lose. You know, the week prior against Carolina felt like a game we would have found a way to lose with a turnover or two. And it is what it is. Moving on. Reese says, it kills me to say this, Lou. We need to bench Jameis for the rest of the season. I want it so badly for him to be the guy. His game revolves around confidence, and his confidence is shot. I couldn't agree with you more. And my thing is, if Jameis isn't the guy, you need to trade him. You need to get something for him. Give him a fresh start. Get something in the process for him. The guy is a franchise quarterback somewhere in this league. Get something for Jameis Winston and move on. And Fitzpatrick is not the answer long term, but maybe Jameis Winston isn't either. I don't think at this point he is either. You know, maybe it's time to move on from Jameis. And the trade deadline would be the perfect time to do exactly that. See if a team's interested. If they're not, maybe after the season is over, you find a trade partner. And there's baggage there, so maybe you won't be able to get the first-round pick that you covet for him. Maybe you'll have to take a little bit less for him because of what comes with the Jameis Winston package. But the guy is talented. That is for sure. Let's move on. Stevie D says, Breeze had under 200 yards passing and the Saints still torched the Vikes. That's what's scary, which is pretty much what I said at the beginning of the show. Reese says, seeing the Saints dominate like this really makes me want to vomit profusely. Hey, look, man, the Saints are a dangerous football team, bro. And they're starting to round into shape again. And it's wins like this that are going to give them that much more confidence. You know, the thing that is starting to make me confident as a Redskins fan, and it's not confidence that I'm necessarily proud of, but it's confidence nonetheless, and confidence begets winning, and you're starting to hear the players in the locker room speak as such, is that despite not having some of the other amenities that other teams around the league have, you expect to win football games, whether you got to win it 17-13 or 20-17 or 23-20 or 13-10. You feel like you can win in any way necessary. And that's where the Saints are heading. They're starting to feel like a team. They go on the road against Baltimore. They're down 17-7. They find a way to come back and win that football game 24-23. That's one of those by any means necessary type of performances. Wasn't the prettiest, but it was gritty and it was a dub. And you'll take them any way you can get them. And so you're looking at this Saints team, and they're starting to gain confidence. And they're gaining confidence in other aspects of the game. And when they start to feel confident that we don't have to have Breeze throw for 300 to win, now that makes them even more dangerous in the NFC conference. JP says, what's going on with Dalvin Cook? Dude's been missing most of the season. He's injured, man. He is injured. Point blank, end of discussion. He's not right physically. And so they're probably not going to bring him back until after the bye week. And that's probably the right thing to do. They've tried to test him out a couple of times this year, and he's not right. And Dalvin Cook's not going to be effective until he's as close to 100% healthy as they can get him. So J. Cam Man says the Redskins are 5-2, all thanks to Alex Smith and Daron Payne. No, that's not true. J. Cam Man also says, how bad will it be for me tomorrow? Will the Patriots show mercy? No, they won't. You'll be down by 3 touchdowns or more at halftime. It'll get ugly quick. This is all I can assure you of. They will put you out of your misery relatively quickly so that you don't even think you have a chance by halftime. So at least you can take solace in knowing that they laid us down nice and easy. They put 2 in our head, bang, bang. Now you know he dead. Nice and quick. Don't torture me. Don't tie me to a chair. Don't strap an electric shocking device to my nutsack. Don't waterboard me. Don't torture me, okay? Don't cut off one of my fingers. Don't drill a hole in my knee. Don't torture me. Put 2 in my brain and put me down quick. That's what they're going to do, and you should be thankful for that, okay? Nothing worse than feeling like you have a chance only to realize you don't after 3 quarters of football. Let them put you down nice and easy after a quarter and a half of work, and after about 20 minutes of this game, you're down about 24-3. You should feel good that, okay, they've gotten us, and this is going to get ugly, and I can rest assured that there will be no Bills magic on this night. So it'll be really ugly. J. Cam Man says, when teams try to change quarterbacks when they are 1 game away from the Super Bowl, things like this happen. You know what? Do you honestly think Case Keenum, Case Keenum had the perfect situation last year. Do you think that Case Keenum, with the situation the way that it is this year, do you think the Vikings would be 4-3-1 with Case Keenum at quarterback? Honestly speaking, you've seen what, Case Keenum has done in Denver. That's more along the lines of who Case Keenum is. When you don't have a defense that's dominant, when you don't have a run game that's dominant, when your offensive line isn't protecting you, when all of the amenities that Case Keenum had at his dispense last year and at his expense last year isn't there anymore? Do you think Case Keenum would be doing the things that he did last year this year? I don't think so. I think they needed Kirk Cousins to do some of the things he's done for them this year, or else they probably would be 3-5 right now, to be honest with you. You know, they don't tie the Packers game without Kirk Cousins. They don't. You know, that's a loss. And not to take anything away from what Case Keenum did last year, he did some outstanding things in and outside of the pocket, especially with his legs. But no disrespect to him, but they're not 4-3-1 with Case Keenum this year, with the way the defense has been playing this season, with the way that some of the mistakes that they've made have come back to haunt them. They wouldn't be where they are with Case Keenum at quarterback. But I get what you're saying. All right, so let's keep it moving. Let's see what else we got. All right, scrolling back up, and here we are. Likely phenomenon. What's going on, bruh? Buffalo pregame says we can't have another Patriots Red Sox year. Well, there are teams in the league that may have something to say about that, so we'll see if that is in fact what we have this year. I don't think we'll have a Patriots Super Bowl, but you never want to count those boys out. The B&B winning factory are dangerous, and I'm hearing in the trade innuendo wins that these boys are out looking for another beast at receiver, i.e. a Deshaun Jackson type that they can use to really, really destroy the league. So they're trying to push their chips into the center of the table. We'll see what happens with the Patriots this year. Ready? RWF1984 says the Vikings lost like they beat the Rams last year. A fumble before half changed the flow, and it was all downhill from there. JP says, do you think Michael Thomas is underrated? I don't think he's underrated because I think people realize how good he is and how good he has been in this league. I think some people are sleeping on his skill set, but I think people understand how good he is, especially in the offense that he's in. So I think people already view Michael Thomas as a top 10 receiver in this league. So I don't know if underrated is the right word. I think underappreciated is more of the right word. Similar to Adam Thielen. I don't think Adam Thielen, after you've had 7 straight 100-yard games, I don't think you're underrated. I think he's underappreciated. And they're two different things. When you're underrated, you're under the radar. People aren't talking about it. We're talking about Adam Thielen every week. We're talking about Michael Thomas every week. I think people don't appreciate how good they are. They're underappreciated. I don't think people understand just how good Michael Thomas is after the catch, or how physical he is at the line of scrimmage. You know, how tough he is to defend in tight quarters. Those are the things that I think make him underappreciated. But I don't think he's underrated, because I think people around the league have taken notice to what Michael Thomas is. See what else we have. KT the Southern Gent, Michael Thomas, a top 5 wide receiver. I love Michael Thomas. I don't think he's in that discussion yet. I think he's right on the outside of that. I think he's somewhere in that 7 to 10 range. If we started to make a list, he's not ahead of Antonio Brown. He's not ahead of Julio Jones. He's not ahead of Hopkins. That's 3 right there. And I don't want to forget anybody. I'm going to stop right now. But those 3, there's no way to penetrate the top 3. Those 3 have cemented their place in this league as the best 3 receivers for me, for my money. And then that's when you start picking off the rest of the other receivers in the league. And like I said, I don't want to leave anybody out because there are really good receivers in this league. He may be a top 5 receiver if I sat down and actually made a list. But I think I probably could come up with 2 more guys to round out the top 5. I think you want to talk about an underrated wide receiver, a guy that's a baller. Devontae Adams is a baller. He's an underrated wide receiver in this league. But anyway, let's keep it moving. Black L.A.B says, I'm far from mad. I saw this loss coming a mile away, but you act as if they went out there and they gutted us. No, I didn't. I didn't act like they went out there and gutted you. I'm acting like they had a dominant performance where they were up 30-13 in your building. That's what I'm acting like. If they would have gutted you, Drew Brees would have threw for 330 yards. Kamara would have caught 5 balls for 77 and a touch. Ingram would have got you for a buck and some change and a touch, and you would have lost this game 37-23 in your building. Then they would have gutted you. I'm acting like you guys did some things to make mistakes, but you lost by double digits in your building with Drew Brees throwing for less than $130. Where's the psychological sense in that, Black L.A.B? There's no way to get around that. You're supposed to beat the Saints when Drew Brees throws for less than $50. Why did he throw for less than $50? Because he didn't have to. He didn't have to. They still won by double digits. Think about that for a second, bruh. Anyway, let's see. Oh, the rest of his comment, he says, we might as well have given them the game on a silver platter. Yeah. Whose fault is that? Whose fault? You don't want to give them credit for forcing turnovers? Adam Thielen didn't lay the ball on the ground. They took it from him. Give me the cookies. You don't know what to do with that? Give me the cookies. They did that. You didn't do that. They did that. Stephon Diggs stopped on the route. Yeah. But why did Stephon Diggs stop? Because he thought Kirk Cousins was going to get sacked. Did he sack himself? No, they got pressure on Kirk Cousins behind your faulty offensive line. They did that. You didn't do that. They did that. Give some credit. Don't be one of these dudes when your team loses, you don't want to give the other team credit. Don't be that guy. You lost tonight. When the Saints whooped our ass, we stunk it up. We gave them that game, but they took that shit from us too. They took it to our ass. We made defensive laps after defensive laps. We had stupid penalty after stupid penalty and turnover after turnover. But guess what? They forced that. We had brain cramps. They took advantage. This league ain't about excuses, man. Don't nobody care about your excuses. It's about results. And tonight, you weren't good enough. They were. Man up and say that. Don't say, oh, man, the Saints ain't good. We gave them this game. They took the game from you. They took it. You gave it and they took it. Thanks. We appreciate it. You don't want to lose? Don't give them the game. But don't sit here and complain as if you didn't make these mistakes, you win the game. Well, don't make the damn mistakes then. That's the difference between being 6-1 and 4-3-1. You make too many damn mistakes, they don't. That's why they're 6-1. You don't want to lose? Stop making mistakes. Simple as that. Cajun Red 63 says, you think the Redskins could be in play for a trade with the 49ers for Garcon? No, I don't. I don't think the Redskins are in play for a trade for anybody. I don't think they're making any moves when you're 5-2 and the Redskins understand their deficiencies. Adding Pierre Garcon to our offense doesn't make again, I said this with Deshaun Jackson. I'll repeat it once more. You're not going to make, because the problem isn't the players on the field at the skill positions. Look, I don't love our receivers. We could use an upgraded receiver. This is a fact, okay? But let's not act as if guys aren't getting open and winning and Alex Smith is getting them the football. All right, Alex Smith isn't getting these guys the football. So there is a deficiency at quarterback. And because of, it's like a bottlenecking phase. It's a bottlenecking situation. Like, there's only so much you can get out of this offense until Alex Smith plays better. So you can add all the weapons you want. If Alex Smith isn't playing better, those weapons are rendered obsolete. So right now, the Redskins have been reduced to a team that's going to have to play outstanding defense, take care of the football, and run it. And until Alex Smith can come to the table with something other than 18 for 29 for $147 and a touchdown, until he can come to the table with more than that, that's who we are. And it doesn't matter if you add Garcon or you add Jackson or you add this guy. It's irrelevant because you're only going to go as far as Alex Smith takes us. And right now, he isn't going to take us anywhere offensively through the air. Right now, we're traveling on the ground, okay? And I'm perfectly fine with that because, again, right now, I'm looking at this season as a culture-changing season. I'm trying to, and I told my uncle when we got Alex Smith is a winning quarterback. You say what you want about Alex Smith, he wins. 10 games every year. His teams go to the playoffs. And as a Redskin fan, if you're too blind to see that, then shame on you. Because if you're crying about us not scoring enough, but we're winning, then I don't know what the hell you want. I want to win. And I don't give a shit how it happens. I want to win, and I want to go to the playoffs. And so what if we get bounced in the first round? There needs to be a culture change in Washington. Aren't you tired of going 7-9, 8-7-1, 7-9? Aren't you tired of missing the postseason? There needs to be a culture change in Washington. And wherever Alex Smith goes, in case you haven't noticed, there's a culture change that takes place. And eventually, we will have Alex Smith run his course, and we'll do like the 49ers did, get us a new franchise quarterback. We'll do like the Chiefs did, get us a new franchise quarterback. But not before Alex Smith has turned the culture around and we're a winning franchise. And that's what we need to use Alex Smith up for, to turn into a winning franchise. So that's what I'm looking to do. And right now, trading for a receiver and trading away draft capital isn't the way to go about that. You just stay the course with Alex Smith. You hope and pray that he gets better throughout the course of the season, that we can score more than 20 points. But if it doesn't happen and we go 10-6 and we win this division and we win and we get into the playoffs, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. So, hope that answered your question. RWF1984 says it seems like he said it almost seems like it's the Saints' magical year. If it is, would Breeze retire after this season? I don't think so. It sounds good, but Breeze, Brady, and Roethlisberger, even though Roethlisberger used to always talk about, retirement, and I think if Roethlisberger had won a ring last year, he may have retired. But more specifically, Breeze and Brady, I think those guys want to play as long as they can. And I think they look at Peyton Manning and some of these other guys that truly missed the game and had to hang it up because they really couldn't do it anymore. I think they understand that once the game is gone, it's gone, and you can't get it back, and they don't want to stop playing. And as long as they can play, I think they're going to continue to play. So even if Breeze won a Super Bowl, I think Breeze would keep playing. I think he loves the game of football too much. I don't think he's ready to give it up. And so despite a Super Bowl ring, his second in his career, and it'd be a great storybook ending, I don't think Drew Brees would hang it up. I really don't. He doesn't strike me as one of those guys that would hang it up with a Super Bowl ring, but I could be wrong. Angry Birds of Chaos says, Louie, you are wrong. D-Hop can play and put in work with any QB. He already played with 10 or more QBs in his career. He would work with Alex Smith because he's the best wide receiver in the NFL. Now, I hear you, bro, and I see where you're going with this, but Alex would still have to get him the football. Like, even though D-Hop, and you could throw Larry Fitzgerald in that same conversation for years, Larry was with just quarterback after quarterback. I mean, the Ryan Lindleys of the world, and they were asking Larry Fitzgerald to go out and ball, and Larry was doing it. But listen to what I'm saying to you. Alex Smith still has to get him the football. Like, he still has to give the man a chance to make a play. Like, Alex isn't even giving guys opportunities to make plays right now. His balls aren't even good enough to give them opportunities to make plays right now. So while I hear you, yes, if Alex were giving guys opportunities and they just were failing to make plays, then I'd say, yeah, maybe D-Hop would make a true difference. But right now, from what I've seen with Alex, he's not seeing the field well. He's not reading defensive coverages well. He's not getting through his progressions fast enough. And these things all limit his effectiveness to the point where a guy like D-Hop, like Nuke, would, I think, somewhat be limited by what he can bring to the table because of Alex Smith's deficiencies. Likely Phenomenon says, what's good, Lou? Do you think my Lions are still in the division race? I think it's wide open. Everybody still has a chance, but your Lions are so inconsistent. I can't see them winning anything of note because you got to beat Seattle. And not that Seattle is trash, but you got to beat Seattle at home. You're on a 2-game winning streak. You had all the momentum. You had a nice little road swing. I think that was your longest road swing of the year, and I think you went 2-1 on it, and you just won your last 2 games, and you were feeling good about yourself. You had finally gotten back to 500 on the season, and look what you go and do. Come on, man. And I got to watch the game. I got to see how it transpired. I know the punter ran on your ass on 4th and 8 from his own end zone at the end to ice it, but I got to see how you got to 28-14, essentially. I got to see how you weren't able to score because that Seahawks defense, last time I checked, wasn't the same Seahawks defense that we've all come to know and love. And they just came off a bye week, so we'll see again. I want to see what that looks like before I start talking about the Lions and what they can or can't do. But I don't trust your Lions. You know, I never have, probably never will. I told you I just don't trust the Lions. I don't trust Matthew Stafford. I don't trust. I thought that last week was somewhat of maybe a revelation of things that could potentially be down the road for the Lions with them running the football and Stafford only throwing it 22 times. That was exciting. And then to go this week and you kind of revert to where you were before, that's a little disappointing. But Vincent Cole says, we got 1 minute left. Saints took the dub, but you know they shook when they see Diggs running out there on the field. Black L.A.B. says, you contradict yourself a little. Y'all wouldn't be 5-2 with Kirk, but y'all offense would be better. I'm lost. Because we would have turned the football over. So, in essence, our defense would have been put in more situations where they would have given up points. The reason our defense has been so good is because they've been given long stretches of field to defend. You may get 1 or 2 first downs, but you're not driving 85 yards for. So I'm not contradicting myself. You're just not understanding what I'm saying. I know my football team. I've watched this defense over the years. We would have given up more points. So the offense would have been better, but we're not going to be holding teams to 13 points like we did the Giants today, or we did the Panthers a couple of weeks ago, or the Cowboys 17 last week. We're not going to be holding teams down because we're going to turn the football over. Either those are going to turn directly into points or shorter fields that are going to turn into points. And so instead of us winning a game 20-17, we're going to lose that same game. We're going to score those same 20 points, maybe 23 or 24, maybe 27, but we're going to lose the football game because we're going to give up more points. If you understand where I'm going with that. We're not 5-2. We may be with Kirk and this defense the way they're playing, and I don't know if they're playing the same if we're turning the football over. Again, these things go hand in hand. In order to have your defense play well, you can't keep putting them continuously in bad situations. All right? There's only so much a defense can do before they start to buckle themselves. So if you're protecting the football, which the Redskins are, you're going to give your defense a chance. And we punt and we play really good special teams, which gives us we're punting the football at a great level right now to where teams are having to drive 90, 95, 85 yards on a consistent basis. You know how hard it is to do that on a consistent basis in this league and not F up, not have a ball tipped, not have a sack, not have a penalty, not have a loss of 2 yards on your first down run and mess up your whole drive. We've done some good things, but turnovers would have thrown a wrench in all of these plans, all right? Last year, we lost to the Eagles in a game that we should have won in the first week of the season. Why? Because Kirk threw a stupid pick that lost us that football game, that changed the whole tenor of that game. Last year, we lost to the Cowboys. 2 years ago, we lost to the Cowboys at home in a game that we should have won. Why? Because Kirk Cousins threw a stupid pick at the end of that game in the end zone that turned the whole tide of the game. We were up 23 to 20. We get a field goal there. We're up 6. Changes the whole dynamics of the game. Matter of fact, we were up 24, I believe, to 20. Either way, he throws a pick in the end zone. We end up losing that game 27 to 23 or whatever it was. Bottom line is, you make those kind of mistakes, the defense isn't as good as they've been this season. So I hope you understand what I'm saying. I don't think you get what I'm saying, but turnovers change games. You should know. You did it again tonight. Reese says, what an acquisition JPP was for us, Lou. 6 consecutive games with the sack. We have played 7 games. He now has 8 sacks. That's awesome. I didn't realize he was playing that well for you. Hopefully it doesn't go in vain and you guys end up 6-10 this year or, 7-9. But in order for you guys to have a chance, I just talked about turnovers and how they impact games. Turnovers, they impact games. So despite him getting to the quarterback, you still gave up 37 points today. 37. And again, I got to watch the game. I know Jameis threw 4 picks, and it's hard to win. And I know one of those went to the crib, and I don't know what kind of position he put your defense in those other situations, which is what I'm speaking about with these turnovers and how they put your defense in really precarious situations. We out of time, though. Let me get out of here, man. I'm your man, Louie T. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. Saints get the win 30-20 on the road in Minnesota. Avenge the heartbreaking, gut-wrenching Minneapolis Miracle loss of last postseason. And so now they're 6-1, 6 straight wins for the Saints. And as I said at the top of the program, the thing that was the most impressive tonight wasn't the fact that the Saints created turnovers, wasn't the fact that the Saints won the game and scored 30 points in doing so. It was the fact that they won this game going away with Breeze only throwing for 120 yards in this game. That's scary because, again, the Saints don't win, at least not this season. They haven't been winning consistently without Drew Brees slinging the rock all around the field. He took a step back tonight, and they still won this game, and they still scored 30 points tonight, which speaks volumes about where this team is heading. And if you're the Minnesota Vikings, mistakes doomed you tonight. And really, that's been your undoing all season long, whether it's been in the field goal kicking game or it's just been turnovers. You beat Green Bay without mistakes. You beat the Buffalo Bills probably without mistakes. But, maybe you win tonight without mistakes. But, in this league, the turnovers are, and it's a very slim margin. It's a fine line that we walk in between victory and defeat. And when you turn the football over, that margin of error shrinks and it flips your chances of winning on its head. And you make it so much tougher on yourself. And not only were those mistakes tonight big mistakes, they were backbreaking in the sense that they directly led to Saints points. And it's one thing to turn it over. It's another to take points off your scoreboard and then add it to theirs. That fumble by Thielen, that's every bit of a 10-point, you could argue 14-point swing in this game. You are going to get points out of that possession. At worst, a field goal, and he fumbles that football. And then the pick six, that's directly 6 points going on the scoreboard for the Saints without your defense even having a say in the matter. Those sting and those change ball games. Saints improved to 6-1, 6 straight victories after the week 1 loss at home to Tampa. Meanwhile, the Vikings remain in first place by the slimmest of margins. I believe that tie still has them theoretically in first place at 4-3-1 over the 4-3 Bears. But they're inconsistent as well. They're inconsistent this season as well, which is why I didn't think they would win this game. Haven't been consistent enough. 1 week they looked like they did against the Eagles, and I thought that was their best win of the season. And then you get a game like tonight where you're not quite sure what you're going to get from the Minnesota Vikings from week to week. But that's it for your man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the Louie T Network if you haven't already done so. Check out the podcast, Louie T Network Podcast, on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Google Music Play, and, of course, on the website, louietnetwork.net. Lockdown coverage will be out at some point tomorrow, breaking down all the other games, non-Redskin, non-primetime matchups. So be on the lookout for lockdown coverage as well. I will see you guys tomorrow for Monday Night Football overtime. Guys, have a good one. Take care. God bless, and good night.
Louie T Network.